So we all know United have wasted a lot of money in the last 10 years, but we're going to go through Manchester United's transfers, look at the systems at play as to why we signed the players we did, and see exactly how much money Manchester United have wasted in the last decade. Basically, let's expose Ed Woodward.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe. That is Joe McGrath. How you doing, Joe?
Very good, thank you. Thank you for having me down today.
It's a fun video, this.
It's not going to be that fun.
It's not going to be that fun, no. But as United are sort of dawdling once again in the transfer market, we thought what better time to look back through Manchester United's last decade, basically Ed Woodward's time as the sort of CEO of Manchester United, and look at exactly who we've signed, how much for, and whether we lost money on them, whether we gained money on them, exactly why United's transfers have been such a disaster for the last 10 years, basically.
100%. And spoiler alert, we lost money on a lot of them.
Yes, it's very rare, very rare that we made money on any of them. So let's go back to 2013-14, the first window after Sir Alex Ferguson and David Gill left the club. Manchester United's ins that day, that window, sorry.
What day was it? Wednesday?
Was Moyes and Fellaini. That was the sole summer signing that year. 29 million quid. Played 177 times for United, which in fairness,
he did a good stint for
we
United.
got some games out of him. He then left, 4 years later for 6.5 million quid. The thing with Fellaini is, I will stand by the fact that he had a few good games for United.
Yeah.
He wasn't the disaster that we have come to since, or people like to sort of throw at him. The problem was, he was the symbol of, this isn't Sir Alex Ferguson. Moyes has come in, brought his man with him, and we've spent 3 months earlier we could have got him for, I think it was 22 million was his release clause. Then the release clause runs out. All of a sudden we're spending 6 million more on a player that most United fans don't even want. Yeah. And he became the sort of symbol of that, didn't he?
But did we get our money's worth? And that's what it sort of boils down to, because he played a lot for us. He had some of the big games, but yeah, he was the sort of the man that people look to as the Moyes era. So he was always cursed in that way. Yeah. But what was the fee again?
29 million ish
reported. It's not bad.
It's
for
not,
a
but also
midfielder.
2013-14, he was up there with one of our most expensive signings ever then. Yeah. Let's not forget that. He's up there with like Rooney, Ferdinand, only just behind sort of Varane, and then this is nearly a decade ago. Just under 30 million quid was a lot of money then, or certainly less, more than it is now.
Did he help us anyway? His highlights probably were that Juventus game.
Yeah, he was good against Juventus.
Good at elbowing.
Yeah.
Loved getting stuck in. There was a time when we had probably the hardest squad in the Premier League.
Probably, but it didn't translate.
It didn't translate.
Next up then was Juan Mata, 40 million quid. It was a club record fee at the time. Played 285 games for United. He's one of the few on this list that whilst he, I think, maybe wasn't quite at the level people thought he might be, I think that was a success, that transfer. I think you would do that one again.
Definitely got our money's worth with him, and the longevity of him being at the club and what he's helped maybe behind the scenes as well with the squad. Yeah. We had like a wonderful little Spanish group that was building. Obviously that never really came to anything, but it was nice that he was at the heart of it. And there's been some amazing times with Juan Mata, one field, and I think we got our money's worth.
There's a really interesting thing as well coming up, looking at sort of the thinking and the rationale behind some of these signings. Because some of them, I think, in fairness, Fellaini is one of the most straightforward. Manager brings his known player with him. Yeah, that makes sense. Some of these, we're going to be looking at sort of investor packs and stuff that Manchester United have been putting out to potential sponsors, and we'll kind of see a little glimpse into exactly why United have signed some of the players they have, because it's not all for footballing reasons, as I'm sure we can imagine. Let's get through some of these then. Yeah. The next one, onto the 2014-15 window, we saw.
Is that Louis van Gaal's first?
This is Louis van Gaal's first year.
A bit of hope this year.
We saw
I think.
Daley Blind for 15 million, Marcus Rojo for 18 million, Ander Herrera for 30 million, Luke Shaw for just over 30 million, Radamel Falcao on a loan.
That day, when we got him on the last couple of days of the transfer.
A 2-year loan, and then quite crucially, Angel Di Maria for 67.5 million.
Listen, when they talk about obviously the Glazers not investing, and we that was a season where you look back at it now and you go, well, we can't really argue with maybe how we prepared for that season. The
problem I have with this is that whilst Di Maria, he'd looked excellent for Real Madrid. He'd been a great player. He was the man of the match in the Champions League final that season when they won that. I think it was La Decima they won the season before, but it didn't make sense. because Van Gaal didn't seem to know what to do with him. It struck me as a signing that the board wanted more than the manager did. He played on the right wing, he played on the left wing, he played as a number 10, he played as like a number 9, like false 9 once. He plays as a number 8.
So odd.
Van Gaal didn't know what to do with him, which again suggests to me he didn't want him. Luke Shaw, again, was an up-and-coming teenage sort of left-back sensation.
Luke Shaw's signing was good, I think.
It was okay. Here's the thing with Luke Shaw. He's played 213 games for the club.
Yeah.
That's a lot. But for only maybe 70 of those games has he been the player we thought he might be. The other 150, he's been... Hopefully he can, kick on. Hopefully he can, get his fitness right, or he can do this, he can do that. Like, I think too high percentage of his time at the club has been, maybe Luke Shaw can kick on now, and not enough of it has been, look how good Luke Shaw is.
He was a young English prospect. He has had those moments where, he's a player of the season for 1 year. For us, helped England all the way to the final, scoring that iconic goal, but obviously that's not Man United.
No.
But, for that amount of money...
It's a lot of money.
I know
especially in 2015.
It's a lot of money.
I think he was the one of the most expensive teenagers of all time then.
Would I make that again? I think like that transfer again.
Yeah.
I think I would.
Yeah. I mean,
would you? Would you make it again? I know hindsight's a wonderful thing.
I think it would be one of them. I'd toss a coin. I think we could have got someone better in if we hadn't have made it, but I don't think it's been a disaster. In terms of disasters, Falcao was a disaster. He left after the end of his loan. It wasn't renewed. Barely scored any goals. Daley Blind is arguably someone who, maybe we shouldn't have let go.
Yeah.
He looked very good for Ajax, but maybe he wasn't quite up to the speed of the Premier League. At least we made most of our money back on him. Marcus Rojo, another one, in and out of the squad his whole time. Ander Herrera.
Ander Herrera was a good sign.
Was a very good player. But again, we never renewed his contract. He
Insane.
came, he did 5 years, just on the single contract, no renewals, and then he left. And then obviously Di Maria, who may be, in the conversation for worst signings in this period, we sold him just 1 year later, losing 10 million quid in the process.
Yeah.
Selling him to PSG. Let's move on to 2015-16. Anthony Martial, 50 million quid.
Well,
still at the club. I think
that
that was a signing that was worthwhile. I do. I think multiple 20-plus goal seasons. Anthony Martial hasn't been a terrible signing for Manchester United. Maybe not quite the player we thought he would be, but he's not been a disaster, has he, Anthony Martial?
No, but the longer he's at the club, the more that signing looks a tiny bit ridiculous with some of our funny add-ons that we get mocked for. The idea that if he ever wins, the World Player of the Year, we have to pay them an extra fee. But for what you're saying, and for the striker, and for the idea of him growing as a player, that 50 million looked like it was going to turn out to be a success.
Yeah.
Unfortunately now, the player that he was going to be, he's failing short of it.
Yeah.
Even going on loan and not doing well just in other clubs. So people might say, it's the way Manchester United are playing him. Well, unfortunately it's not, because we've seen that he can't do it in other teams. So now you wonder, is the player right?
Yeah.
He's in the squad, he's in the United team. We've still got him, he's still an asset. But if you just say you sell him now, what does he go for?
Yeah, probably
15,
half,
20 million.
Certainly half of what we got him for.
Yeah.
And now he's 25 years old. Now he should be heading into his peak.
Not older now.
I think he's around 25. The next four, I think, are real problems, and I think are just lazy scouting and bad signing.
Let's run through.
So Martial, we can argue. The next four are Morgan Schneiderlin for 31 million quid. I can't even remember him.
That was
playing
weird,
for
yeah.
Manchester
I'm just thinking now, Schneiderlin was an odd decision. Did he go to Everton as well?
Yeah, we sold him sort of 2 years later for 20 million quid, losing 10 million in the process. He played 47 games for United. Wow, I can't remember any of them. Then was Memphis, 30 million quid. We sold him 2 years later for 14 million quid, losing half of the money in the process.
There was slight.
He had some.
There's promise there.
Some promise, but he was never of the right quality. Then Matteo Darmian, who sort of loitered around for 5 years, left in 2020. We signed him for 16 million quid, sold him for 2.
Yeah, that's not good, is it?
That's not good. And then Bastian Schweinsteiger, who, came in 8 million, which it felt cheap at the time, is a German legend, won the World Cup, left 2 years later on a free transfer to Chicago. That's another 8 million quid lost. 35 games in the process, was persistently injured, had a great game against Liverpool, but other than that, again, largely anonymous. They are just all of those, and I can see an argument for Martial as well, but I personally don't agree with it. All the rest of those are just wastes of money.
I think position-wise, we needed players in all those positions, but the mistake was not identifying the right player in those positions. And we spent money on players that maybe didn't gel or bond or become a team. So, for example, when other clubs do their transfers, they will fill the gap in the role that they need, but they'll also fill it with people who will gel with the team that's currently there. We were just buying absolute random players, and when they were coming together, it just didn't work.
But again, and part of the reason for this, like, if this wasn't Woodward, you could say, you know, it's difficult for the CEO because the managers keep changing, and therefore it's difficult to find players that will work for 2 or 3 managers in a row.
Yeah.
The reason why you can't take that blame away from him is because he's the one that gets the manager in and then fails to support them properly. These are all, a lot of these are second and third choices. We go back to the first window. Moyes gets Fellaini.
Yeah.
He thought he was getting Fabregas and Cruz.
Yeah, that was the
which
rumors,
would be
one
of the best midfields in the world. Instead, we get Fellaini, who was meant to be a backup option, and ends up being our only signing of the window. I think it goes all the way through this. We'll get to Jose Mourinho in a little bit and some of the players he wanted and didn't get. So you can't take that blame away from Woodward, because he's the one that makes it more likely for the managers to get sacked because he's giving them bad players.
Rapport, bad
like,
players.
you're getting third and fourth choice options. No wonder the team isn't doing as well as it should do. And then all of a sudden the manager gets sacked, and now, well, Memphis doesn't work under Jose. I don't even know if he played with him, but Martial doesn't work under Jose.
Yeah.
Luke Shaw doesn't work under Jose. Yeah, but Van Gaal was never going to succeed because we kept getting the wrong players for him. So that transfer window was the end of Louis Van Gaal.
Yeah. Oh, he's done now.
That's him gone.
FA Cup
End,
final.
he gets to the wins the FA Cup in 2016, and then Jose Mourinho comes in, and with it is a flurry of high-profile signings.
Yeah.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic on a free. You know what?
Good
One of the
sign.
few unmitigated successes on this list. He came in, he won us some trophies, he scored plenty of goals, and he left. Eric Bailly, £34 million, which I'm still, we're still waiting to see if he can stay fit.
Is that not how much players were sort of going for then?
It is, but it's not. I'm not saying that, all of the fees are too much based on the rest of the market.
Yeah.
I'm saying what we end up getting out of them. There were 34 million quid alternatives to Eric Bailly that would have stayed fit,
Right, okay,
that would have played games for us. Henrik Mkhitaryan, 37 million pounds, left again 2 years later for what was either a free transfer or we pay 30 for Sanchez, you pay 30 for Mkhitaryan, and we'll swap you for the Bucks. Really, it was a free transfer, free swap. And the biggest one, and arguably, the biggest sort of controversy of all of these, Paul Pogba, for what at the time was, I believe, a world record fee
it was, of
£94 million, left in 2022 on a free transfer, played 411 games for United, which some of those were before he left, but that's his sort of his catalogue at United. I don't think every single minute of Paul Pogba was a failure, but what I would like to now draw your attention to is this little bit of sort of graphic from the Manchester United investor pack in 2017. Now, is it a public document, Alex? Yeah. A public document that it gets sent out, it's 2019, sorry, a public document that gets sent out to sponsors, to companies. Manchester United go.
I've made my own couple of sponsor packs in the past.
Work with us. We'll help you make money and grow your brand. And this is looking at the hashtag Pogback. Hopefully we'll be able to get this graphic on the screen, and if not, the link will be in the description. Hashtag Pogback, record-breaking, revolutionary transfer social media campaign. Now, how much of the Paul Pogba transfer was brand and how much of it was on the pitch? So here's the bullet points. Most retweeted Man United tweet of all time. All-time top Man United post on Instagram. Most read story ever on the Man United website. All-time high Google searches for Pogba. Greater number of interactions than rival clubs' most popular signings. And here you see a lovely little graph of Pogba versus other club signings. Pogba, 635,000 interactions on Instagram. Suarez to Barcelona, 219. Higuain to Juventus, 145. Bale to Real Madrid, 112. Fabregas to Chelsea, 96. De Bruyne to City, 56. Wow, look at us. We've nearly tripled them. Well, Luis Suarez scored about 300 fucking goals for Barcelona. Higuain broke the record record for most goals in a single season for Juventus. Gareth Bale has won 4 Champions Leagues at Real Madrid. Cesc Fabregas, I think, won the Premier League, won the FA Cup for Chelsea. And Kevin De Bruyne is arguably one of the best players in the world and wins titles season after fucking season for Chelsea. So I don't really care about who did the most interactions on Instagram because Paul Pogba has done largely nothing for Manchester United in those 6 years. That's all they care about.
Yeah, that's all they care about here. But my only defence of that is that's all they care about. But this document isn't made for United fans. And this is my only defence for it. And I'm not supporting it. And I don't like the tone. I don't like the way it's written. And some of the bullet points are so cringy, it's unbelievable. But this tone is made for sponsors. And it's made for people to understand just how powerful they are as a club. So they've highlighted that.
Yeah, I understand. And I know what they're doing.
Not a defensive,
and I get
it.
But the point I'm making is looking at the names we've signed, looking at the way we've gone about our transfer business in these years, I believe the club care more about this than they do about what's gone on in the pitch. Because every single one of those signings was a far smarter, far better signing than Paul Pogba to Manchester United was. Certainly for the price. He was also the most expensive of any of them.
Yeah, they don't put that on the chart.
They don't put that on the chart. Most money wasted, Paul Pogba.
This is the thing. I mean, it's the line, isn't it? Because these companies that we are getting money from, these random companies, who had a team viewer before?
Yeah.
They essentially don't even, like, United fans care about what happens on the pitch. But again, they don't.
No.
They want to know, is their company going to get the best from it, which is the downside of all this, because then United make stupid signs like that because then more money will come in from sponsors.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, it doesn't result to good stuff on the pitch,
no.
which is why we're shit.
Exactly. And then when you keep this in mind, I'm going to keep referring to that graphic, when you keep in mind how United's priorities are on signings. So let's go back a little bit and go over that again. Juan Mata, maybe it was a good sign at the time. We needed that kind of player, but he was one of the most popular players in the Premier League. Angel Di Maria, a huge name across world football.
Di Maria one was
the manager didn't seem to want him. The manager didn't know what to do with him. Radamel Falcao, one of the biggest names in Europe. Again, the manager played him. We never really got him working to the system that Van Gaal wanted. Bastian Schweinsteiger, another one, huge name across Europe, was clearly past it. Bayern Munich willing to let him leave. We signed him anyway. Paul Pogba, again, you can say at the time, and I said this, and I'm not completely saying that transfer was just for clicks.
Yeah.
Because he was a very good player. He was up and coming. He had the United links. It made a bit of sense. But don't tell me that #Pogback wasn't at the forefront of the minds when they were making that transfer. Zlatan Ibrahimovic,
I'd say
another one.
Zlatan's another one.
Romelu Lukaku, as we move on to 2017-18, 76 million quid we spent on him, sold him 2 seasons later for 66, losing 10 million quid on him in the process. Nemanja Matic, another one, 40 million quid. Again, had a couple of good seasons, but has been largely sort of a bench player for the last 2 or 3 years. We then gave him multiple contract extensions that he's only just getting out of now.
Yeah, what frustrates me is some of these signings, they do, like Matic, when we signed Matic, there was an element of like, oh, he's been quite a good midfielder for Chelsea. We need someone like that. Will we get the Matic that came for Chelsea? But some of these players, like Mkhitaryan as well, let's look at them. When we signed him, there was excitement in the air for United because of what he was doing with Borussia Dortmund. He comes over, and these players, there's only one player really in mind for me who steps up in quality, and that's Bruno Fernandes, that we'll get onto later. They always seem to just either level off how they were or dip. Yeah. And then we don't get the reward of what we've just paid for.
No.
Like the Pogba of Juventus, which we signed him for, that was exciting. They were what he was done that season for the Italian side was ace, and we thought, crikey, we're going to be a bit of a world beater here.
Yeah.
But they never get to the heights of where we bring them in from.
No, exactly. And on that point, as we just sort of go through a few more, Victor Lindelof, 30 million, Alexis Sanchez. Again, technically it was a free swap, but there was that rumours of, we put it down as 30, you put it down as 30.
Yeah.
Either way, we spent, a lot more than how it looks there. So apparently, according to the 350 grand a week basic wages that we gave Sanchez, he got a signing on fee of around 6.5 million. Again, this is from the Daily Mail. So, how much you want to believe this is up to you. But these sorts of rumours were being reported pretty much across the media. Potential bonuses. could take his weekly salary up over 500 grand a week. But again,
money.
he's probably doing a lot of stuff for that. This was kind of in order to blow City out of the water. City and United were both in for him. We had to do something to put this in our hands. United He then moved to Inter on loan, and United had spent around 35 million quid in wages and bonuses and agents' fees before he went. After that, we were still required to pay around 300 grand a week while he was at Inter because of the terms of the loan agreement. Since he's been at Inter, he cost the club another £15 million-ish in wages.
Wow.
And then there was also a payoff and other things and agents' fees. The final figure is somewhere in the region of £66 million. Again, that may be slightly off, but certainly we spent a lot of money on Alexis Sanchez, a man that played 45 games for Manchester United.
Does that epitomise what Richard Arnold was saying in that video, the leaked video, that we've literally pissed £1 billion up the wall?
I think Sanchez is the biggest waste of money because whilst Paul Pogba wasn't quite the player we thought he was, we did win trophies with him. He did score in the Europa League final. We have had him for 6 years.
Yeah.
Alexis Sanchez came, went, did fuck all in the process, and cost
really
us
remember good
crazy
games,
money.
Sanchez.
And as me and Alex spoke about on a video a couple of weeks ago, we are still reeling from the transfer. The sort of the wage structure that he implemented with his money. He didn't implement it. Woodward implemented it. So it's ridiculous. Then move on to 2018-19. We've got Fred for 53 million quid, Dallo for 20, Lee Grant for 1 million. The first two are still at the club, and Lee Grant is now retired.
What we need to give context to that season is the fact that we came second to Manchester City that year. Jose Mourinho still cites that as one of his greatest achievements of all time. And City top the league, we are behind them. What do? Do we strengthen in areas that we are weakened by so that the next year we go toe-to-toe with City and we win the league? Unfortunately, we don't. We buy Lee Grant, we buy a winger, and a defender, and we buy Fred.
Yeah.
So Jose Mourinho has to go up against the same City side who have strengthened, and other clubs in the third and fourth positions who have also strengthened, and then he's got to go toe-to-toe with the fact that he's got Fred now and Lee Grant in his armoury.
I know.
Now, no disrespect to Fred, and Lee Grant was brought in for a certain reason, but that's not a way to battle in the Premier League against your arch rivals.
No, it doesn't. It just isn't setting us up to be successful whatsoever, is it? We've got a few more here to go through. Moving on to the next year, then we're hitting some big boys here. This was Solskjaer's sort of first summer window in charge. Daniel James, 16 million quid. Funnily enough, the only player we've made profit on since Ed Woodward came in as the CEO. Bought for 16 million, sold for sort of 26 million. Then Wan-Bissaka for 50 million, Bruno Fernandes for 50 million, and Harry Maguire for 80 million pounds. That's a lot of money there. Wan-Bissaka looks like he might be leaving the door this summer. Bruno Fernandes, obviously, mainstay in the team, probably the best player in the club. That one, again, fair, good, excellent signing, actually. And Harry Maguire, a good defender who is struggling to live under the sort of the stresses and pressures of being club captain and the most expensive defender of all time. It was too much money for him.
I also think that same logic can be put on Wan-Bissaka. Was it too much money for Wan-Bissaka as well? 50 million on a youngster, that'll always sort of curse him as his career goes, unless he turns into that 50 million play. But it's so hard if you don't, and then you often have the uphill climb. Harry Maguire, you look at it now and we get ridiculed for that. We're a bit of a laugh because obviously how poor our defence was last season. And unfortunately, Harry Maguire and Wan-Bissaka made up half of that defence for a lot of the time. So, you look back at that. I don't think the Wan-Bissaka transfer was bad. I think what was bad about it was the money we paid for him.
Again,
if we're looking back
the same with Harry Maguire.
He's a £30 million player, then it's fine.
Exactly.
Maguire, what would you say now for him? What would you, in hindsight,
if we'd have paid 50 million, I think things are very different.
Same.
Another one, Odion Ighalo, who was a fan favourite, United fan growing up, likeable guy, scored a few goals for us, but let's be honest, had no business signing for Manchester United.
Yeah.
Like a player that left Watford and then has been playing in the sort of minor leagues of the world ever since, isn't someone that United would ideally be signing as a sort of a backup striker, is it? It was a loan.
Oh, it was a loan.
But like, fair enough, he came in, but then he got an extra year or an extra 6-month contract at the end of it. It was very strange. United were just scrambling for people at that point. We wanted Josh King at one point on the last day of the deadline. We ended up with Odi and Igalo. How we find ourselves in these sorts of positions over and over again is quite frankly embarrassing. Donny van der Beek, as we move on to
that was a bad signing. I mean, that's one of those where you look at the cash and it's just burnt away, isn't it?
Yeah. Again, he's made 50 appearances for the club, most of them off the bench. Been on loan at Everton last season. Again, will he make his mark on the club? As things currently stand, that was a failure of a signing.
I know,
regardless
of
whether he should do it or it's his fault or not.
Edwin van der Sar signing him over online and saying good luck with Van der Beek, and he's coming over like this amazing youngster who's got the world at his feet, and he's a great midfielder. But again, just falls short, doesn't it?
Amad Diallo, Alex Telles, Facundo Pellistri, and Edinson Cavani. Again, that window for me, where we're improving, we're getting the Champions League, and then that's the reinforcements. An aging Cavani, who we get right at the end of the transfer window. We get 2 youngsters not ready for the first team in Pellistri and Diallo. We get a backup left back, and we get someone that basically it seems like Ajax wanted to sell us more than we wanted to buy them in Donny van der Beek. That is not a way to support a manager. And then you move into this season.
We're selling the fact that we've had the humiliating season as we've had, and they say that the really dark time was the 5-0 at Liverpool when they came to Old Trafford, and the fact that we've not done anything yet is, the more the time goes on, the more slightly worried I get in terms of who is in charge of making the decisions and when will these decisions be made, because we go into next season with a fight in our hands and we haven't got the armoury for it yet.
No, we haven't. And Sancho, Varane and Ronaldo, the last 3. Again, how much of Ronaldo was, as much as he's been our best player this season, how much of that signing was because we wanted him and how much of it was because we thought he'd get some clicks and retweets and we didn't want City to have him?
You think that that graphic there of Pogba, I bet there's one being made that obviously won't be seen by the general public, but will be seen by big media companies or big companies around the world of Ronaldo. And I mean, because when he did come back, it was an amazing time, but it's not turned out to be too great.
Exactly, it was Pogba's face on it then. It's definitely Ronaldo's face on it now, isn't it? That same pack that's being sent out to everyone. There we have it. I mean, that's the final window of Ed Woodward's legacy. There are so few success stories on that list. Like, even if you take out the fact that we've not won any trophies, even just players who were likeable, who consistently played for the first team, is so slim. The amount that we sold for profit is 1. The amount of players that at any time during their career at United we could have sold for profit is very, very slim. I think.
What is the best signing we've made on the list?
I would say it's Bruno Fernandes. I think he's made the biggest impact.
Yeah, I'd say
between Bruno Fernandes and Zlatan, I think are the 2 that genuinely improved the team the most and didn't leave under a cloud of controversy. I would say it's those 2. But there's not many on there, is there? Let's be honest. Let us know your thoughts then in the comments below. How many of these signings were simply to get more clicks, to get more retweets, to look at this squad as a social media asset rather than a team capable of winning the Premier League? Again, you look at, I think Jay mentions it all the time. We finished 19 points behind Manchester City, and we go out and we get Van der Beek, Diallo, Telles, Pellistri, and Cavani. Yeah. It's not good enough, really, is it? It's not at all. Right, that's going to be all from us. Again, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do we have some optimism for the Murtagh and Arnold era at Manchester United? So far, no deals.
It's like Noel Edmonds.
Deals or no deals. So far, it's no deals.
No deals.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Joe McGraw, where can people find you?
Find me on the Sloppy Joe's podcast. Get involved in that. We have a bit of a laugh with a guy called Joe Smith. You might have heard of him.
It's me.
Check out the podcast.
Link to that is in the description, man, and Joe's podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you in a bit.